I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any comments from the public? Saying none. Do we have any corrections to the agenda or consent calendar? No? Somebody like to make a motion to? All right. Okay, so there's no consent items being brought forward, and so we're on. All right. Great. Moving on to item 6A. Is that Megan?
Good afternoon. I am here to request award for the 2024 Filters 3 and 4 rehab project. Just a little background. Back last year in September, you guys authorized staff to advertise for bids. Had a little bit of time to finish up the final design. We advertised in early February. This project is filters number 3 and 4. We have 6 filters out at the treatment plant. And the rehab work will be a full recoating of the filter interior, redoing the under drain, laterals, new piping, influent header, and surface wash piping, and then also replacing the operating valves and actuators in the filter gallery. So on February 27th, we had a mandatory pre-bid, and there were 3 general contractors in attendance. We opened bids on March 7th, and 2 bids were received. The amounts ranged from $1,286,870 to $1,430,000. And the engineer's estimate was just over $1 million for this work. And after bid review, there were only minor irregularities, and so we would like to move forward with the low bidder. That's my summary. Any questions?
No. Okay, you want to read that?
Yes. Number 1, find minor irregularities in the bid from ERS Industrial Services Incorporated to be immaterial and waive immaterial irregularities. And 2, award the 2024 Filters Rehab Project to the lowest responsible bidder, ERS Industrial Services, in the amount of $1,286,870.
Thank you, Megan. Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Great. All right. 6B.
Good afternoon. I'm Adrian. I'm here to request a change order for TNS construction on the Tahoe pump station. We've had a laundry list of items since the beginning of the project, including extra work, changes in work, things that were different from the design. We've had issues with electrical where we've needed to, basically we're going to end up having to do a new electrical panel, and we've made some changes so that we can continue with the project before doing that due to lead times. Got a whole laundry list of different things. Do you guys have any questions on any of the specific items in this change order?
Yes. Looks like it's needed, so yeah.
The other thing we're doing is we're extending the contract to basically match the end of our SRF date due to some of the lead times on the electrical equipment. So the requested action is to approve change order number 2 to TNS Construction in the amount of $233,169.39.
I'll make a motion. I'll second that.
Thank you, Adrian. All right.
Director Sheehan, how did you vote on that one? I voted yes. It takes a little while sometimes.
All right. Next item is item
7, presentation on Diamond Valley Ranch and Alpine Trails Association. Jason?
Good afternoon. My name is Jason, and I work at the district's water reuse facility located in Alpine County. Today I'm here asking the board to consider the idea of designating a portion of land owned by the district in Alpine County to be used for trail construction and public use. I have shared this idea with the Alpine Trails Association, and they have expressed great interest as it could have a very positive impact on the local community. Also today, I have two representatives here from Alpine Trails Association who would like to speak on the subject. So if you don't have anything for me, I'll turn it over to them.
Good afternoon. Nick, I don't think I've ever met you. Good to meet you. What's that?
Wonderful to meet you.
Kelly and Shane, it's been a while. So, my name is Jim Hain. I'm Outreach Director for the Alpine Trails Association. Bill Young is our Secretary for the Trails Association. And Alpine Trails Association, along with the Markleeville Disc Golf Course, are 501Cs under the umbrella of AURA, Alpine Outdoor Recreation Association, which is an organization dedicated to non-motorized public recreation. So, right now, currently our Trails Association, we maintain 5 trails. The Indian Creek System, Burnside Lake, Charity Valley, Thornburg Canyon, and we just started working with Desolation Hotel, the old Sorenson's above there. So we're quite active. We generally put in 30 to 40 work days a year, mostly elderly seniors, but we're very active. We're probably the most active volunteer organization in Alpine County. Our ATA board, you know, Alpine County is unique. I'm sure you all know that. There's 800 people on this side of our side of the county. So if you volunteer, you don't volunteer for one organization. You volunteer for multiple organizations. And on our board, we have a school board member, planning commissioner, board member for Friends of Hope Valley, board member for Friends of the Library. So our tentacles are throughout the county. So about 4 years ago, I first met Jason. Do you remember that day, Jason?
Yeah.
So prior to that, you know, the community had enjoyed recreating on your property, jumping the fence, trespassing. And Jason stopped me one day very politely and says, "Sir, you'll have to leave. You can't be on our property." And so my response was, "Well, I talked to John Teal. He's a friend of mine," which was BS. And Jason saw through that. So my next excuse was I'm inspecting this water line, the sea line for my brother. And he didn't buy that one either. But that was, you know, prior to that, we had 3 utility employees that were volunteer firefighters, Hellbird, Paul Schlang, and Wes Long. And so we had a very tight, you know, good relationship. And it seemed to evaporate. And we're hoping to resurrect that and build a relationship with the district. And you know, I've lived in Tahoe for 20 years before moving to Alpine County. And this time of year, what I wanted to do was get out of the snow. And where was the closest place to get out of the snow? It was Woodford's. It was basically your property. So this property is unique in that it offers a lot of opportunities, not just to local residents or the school children, but to your ratepayers. You know, we've talked to CAMBA. We've talked to other organizations that are very excited about the potential for this. It's a unique property. It's a beautiful property. And we just want to show our altruistic motives. We just want to build trails. That's what we do. And I know there's no decision made today, but hopefully, what happened this summer is was an agreement between the district and the Trails Association. From there, the Trails Association board hasn't authorized this, but I'm assuming we will take the lead if that's approved, we get to go ahead on a master plan. And we'll take responsibility for a master plan, public outreach, and with direction from the district, constraints and opportunities, and abiding by anything the district restricts or allows. And just the last comment is, we're dedicated to minimize, we understand, the impact of ratepayers and projects like this, and we're dedicated to minimize your staff time, minimize your cost, do everything we can to make it work. We haven't worked any details out, but it could be a big advantage, not just for recreation, but for wildland fire. Just get a perimeter around your property. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be glad, or Bill could answer.
Just to kick it off, so Jason did come to our operations committee meeting. I think it was 1 or 2 meetings, probably 2 meetings back, maybe 3 meetings. For me, I think this is something that we definitely are interested in working with you guys on. Obviously, today we're not going to be making any kind of call on that. We want to have a better understanding of kind of the scope of what you guys are proposing and making sure that it doesn't constrain us in any way in accessing some of the infrastructure and things that we've got going on there, the operations that we're needing to kind of carry out down there. So I guess for me, I'm very interested in continuing the conversation and better appreciating, understanding what you're doing. I think ultimately STPUD has an interest in being a good neighbor to the community of Woodfords and Marthaville and all of Alpine County, and that to me this would be a good reflection of that. So yeah, I think for me this is encouraging, and I appreciate you coming up and giving us your spiel.
I'm going to echo everything he said. I support pursuing this. I wholeheartedly support pursuing this.
Yeah, I'll just make that agree then. Really exciting. I think just as I exist with my own kids, in the world of screens, anytime you can promote something that's outside, that's recreation, getting people away from the screens, I support that. In the world of negativity, when positivity comes your way, you should move towards that as well. And so I think this kind of ticks both those boxes, so I'm supportive. And look forward to see where it goes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's a natural connection there, Nick, with the school district. School kids, that would be an opportunity for them to not just exercise, but maybe become part of our Trails Association and learn some skills.
Absolutely.
And, there's a lot of excitement about what can we do, but it's really down to what will be allowed to do.
Yeah.
We're going to take full direction from you and not question any implement or any obstacles.
And it sounds to me like you was starting to establish a relationship with Jason, and that I'm sure he can probably call out some red flags as you're moving along the planning process.
Yes.
And then I'm sure our lawyer will have some other red flags for us to navigate. So we'll just need to kind of work through all that stuff. So I don't know. Is there any other?
Well, as we say, yeah, I'll work with Keith to try to determine kind of what our options are that don't restrict our use of the land,
right,
and also don't open us up for any unnecessary liability. Yeah.
We have agreements with BLM and the Forest Service, but they're minimal, just the standard small form.
So after we kind of have a better idea of how we can move forward, we'll get back together with you guys and Jason and Adrian, and kind of maybe get a better idea of some of the specifics you're thinking about.
Sure. Yeah.
And then just as you mentioned some kind of agreements, special use, I'm not sure what kind of agreements you have with BLM or Forest Service, that might be helpful for us to appreciate any kind of constraints or anything that might be.
Okay. Yeah.
Those folks.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the exact text, but they're basically, you can work here and do what you're told and don't sue us.
They're okay.
Don't get hurt.
Yeah.
We've never had an injury yet. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim. Good to see you. Any other, are we good? Okay, very good. All right. Moving on. Item 8, standing and ad hoc committee and liaison reports. Nick, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yesterday was the Systems Efficiency and Sustainability Committee. It was actually a really exciting and kind of jam-packed meeting. And even just kind of getting back to it, I think it was a real reminder. One of the first meetings I had on the Ops Committee was looking at the first climate action plan that we were developing as a district. I was not terribly enthralled with what that product was, to say the least. And so looking now to, X number of years later and seeing the staff that we brought on and kind of the culture shifts, it is one of those moments where you actually see kind of a pause and steps forward, like as you run forward in your daily life. So I wanted to just commend staff because it was noticed, and I think everyone put a lot of time into that space for that growth to take place from when it commenced, and it's really appreciated and noticed. We were, kind of, as roles change at the district, Julie Ryan is now kind of taking over this committee, and so she kind of stepped in that role. Adrian, our local Tahoe, was, I love that, was also in attendance, and it was a really fruitful meeting. We had an opportunity to look at kind of our forthcoming climate action planning, and Lauren presented on that. What was really excited with that again is, looking at actionable kind of things we can achieve as a district, how those correlate with our CIP plans or budgetary processes, things we're planning for, the shops and what have you in the future. So it's a really, really exciting kind of next step into like manage everything we've kind of been talking about sporadically and putting it together. Yeah, we talked about the local hazard mitigation plan as well. Danielle presented with, opportunities for grant funding to both handle the mitigation plan and the climate action plan that's actively being pursued by the district. And so, we're all huge fans of grants, so that was a really, really positive direction in terms of moving forward. And then also got an update on the program we've been participating in with a lot of other districts and like-minded folks in terms of, what we can do in terms of sustainability. And then that further kind of represents what we can achieve in our climate action plan and what we can do here as a district. And one of the things we hit on yesterday was, as we looked at everything from dollars to time, to staff time in particular, everything we do has to be actionable into success and demonstration of success and not kind of just chasing our tail. I think it's a really kind of collaborative message. Solar was probably the biggest topic of discussion. We're right there at the end. The vote at the TRP governing board is going to be April 24th. Tell your friends, tell them an email, tell them voice support. It's a community effort, and these people that are on the governing board aren't always from our community, and so we needed to let them know that we're supportive of it. Most of the time was spent in terms of TRP technicalities, which I won't bore everybody with, but I will say, I think, speaking before the meeting, we feel very optimistic we're going to address those in one of any number of ways, and mostly celebrate TRPA, working with our code, working with us and our sub-consultants to get to that answer. So, I talked about this one a lot more, but it was, after I left the meeting, I did reflect a lot on the passage of time, as we do from time to time, and it was really impressive where we started, where we're going. So yeah, no, it was a great meeting, and thanks for everybody.
Julie, you want to talk about the budget workshop?
It was very quick. That's always a good sign. It wasn't contentious at all. Andrea did a great job at her first, presenting that to us, and it was, we had a consensus, and we're moving forward. I think Prop 218 notices, I hear them printing as we speak. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Shelley for being in local media twice this week, pictures and all, and it's always good to have press for the district.
Great. I'll just report out really quickly on the Ops Committee meeting. Some of the highlights of that meeting is that we got the Paloma Well online. Thank you, Mark, for that, for keeping that through. That's huge. And Glenwood was also another one that we got back online. And then one of the other items that we spent a lot of time talking through is the two pump stations down at Pope Marsh, which sounds to me like they're in really bad shape. So we're going to have to take some action to get those things back online before the summer season. Another thing maybe for our folks from Alpine County, it looks like we've unposted our warnings for cyanobacteria levels, the HABs down there. So it looks like, at least for now, that Indian Creek Reservoir is, you know, available for people to recreate in. And I think that's all I really have from the outside. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, that's it. Okay. I was going to look back at you. Okay. Very good. So moving on, will any board member reports on item 9?
I just would say in terms of, you know, the budgetary workshop, it was, you know, raising rates on the community, struggling in so many different ways, was something we took very seriously. And I think everybody in the district knows kind of the state of our system, what we're dealing with in terms of addressing it. And so if you run into community members that are dealing with financial hardship, point them to the CARE program, options that exist for them, you know, any way you can get the word out there. You know, as community members struggle. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't give a lesson about Wolfpack, who's playing right now in the AD-HOC. I'm missing it to be with you, lovely people. But good luck to Wolfpack. No, I know, that's for a planning commission meeting. Like, I should have planned my life better, but so that's all for me.
Anything on that? I do not either. Okay. Moving on to item 10, staff and attorney reports.
Yes, just briefly, at the last meeting, the board directed staff to look into potential alternative bidding procedures in order to accommodate bidders who have difficulty submitting their bids via the district's electronic system. We researched the issue and discussed and deliberated amongst ourselves. Having an alternative procedure is not advisable for practical and legal reasons. The practical reason is that any deficiencies in the system probably wouldn't be identified until late in the bidding process when bidders are prone to submit their bids. And so having that alternative method available to them wouldn't provide much benefit given the deadline. And then the legal consideration is that having an alternative procedure does create potential that certain bidders would have an advantage over others who submitted their bids previously. However, the board can always direct staff to extend the deadline if there's a documented outage in the system that prevents all bids from being received. So that way all bidders are treated equally. But I just wanted to give you an update on what we've discussed on that point.
Thank you. And we did talk a little bit about this in the Ops Committee. I think, again, a lot of it has to do with just the way that we notice these things, and it sounds to me like we're doing everything we can to basically encourage early submittal just so they don't get hamstrung by the process. So I guess just in general, like anybody that is going to bid with us, that they need to kind of get in front of it sooner than later. So thank you for that, looking into that. All right, moving on to item 11, staffing or general manager report. Paul?
Are you going to do a ledger update? Oh, okay. I don't have anything actually to report today.
Okay, so no staffing update? No. Okay, very good. Item 12 is just noticing past and present and future meeting and events that are all listed in the agenda, and we will now adjourn the regular meeting and move into a closed session. During closed session, nothing to report? Nothing to report.
Is that for Tahoe?
Yeah, I know.